This song for ya.
You're listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. I will do one episode for each song the band recorded in the studio. However, this is a fan podcast and not band endorsed. It's more of a tribute to their long history, well beyond just the hits, and my way of giving something back to a band that has given so much to me. Let's dig in! Hello and welcome to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, here with our final album proper track. There is, of course, one bonus track that we will cover in the next episode. But as far as the actual album goes, this would be the last track. And this is a cover of the Jimi Hendrix hit, Hey Joe, which was released on the Are You Experienced album, an absolute favorite of mine. I love that album. My favorite song on that one would probably be the title track, Are You Experienced, though there's a lot of great music on that. This song, however, not a favorite of mine. And I think I figured out why I'm not a huge fan of it, but we're going to get into that as we listen to today's song. But I did want to point out, I have mentioned previously that there is a deluxe edition of Shades of Deep Purple, and there are some bonus tracks on that. There is a live version of Hey Joe from the BBC Top Gear session, and that is on the CD as well. So if you like this song, you might want to check that out. If you don't, you still might want to check it out. Totally up to you. But I think the issue for me with this song, like I like the music is not bad. The story concept is not bad, but it's kind of, it doesn't really go into a whole lot. It's very repetitive and it really doesn't tell that much of a story. I think there's a lot of music and there's a lot of room for telling a bigger story. It's just so like, it's almost like a haiku. Like you get enough of the story in a haiku to where you understand what it's about, but not enough to care about it. So I'm kind of like, I don't care that this is happening because I don't understand what brought it about enough to care. I'm not invested in the story. And I think that's what I don't like about it. But you guys, if you've been following me for long enough, you know that it doesn't matter necessarily whether I like a song or not. It's all about how different parts of it make me feel, what I find interesting or not interesting in the music, in the vocal delivery, all that sort of thing. So let's get into dissecting this song. This is Hey Joe by Deep Purple. You know what? I can make a case for the opening sounds to this. I mean, you think, okay, so guy shot off a gun, he's injured or killed someone, and he's running away. Police are chasing him. You can kind of make an argument for the street noises and the siren. I think this is a reasonable one. So I did find a couple on this album that I thought the opening sounds were matching the music, but for the most part, no. Now, the way they're playing this, I really like. I very much enjoy the rhythm here. The just quick staccato notes on the keyboard going with the drums and the bass work really well. And then what Richie's playing over the top of that, that's some nice soloing. I feel like he's kind of coming into where he wants to be on this song. We'll get to his guitar solo, but I'm just going to, play that card now. I love it. I really love the way he played it. And this is kind of one of those things that just shows me what Richie can make me feel as a listener and how he interprets the song and what it does for him as well. But yeah, this is some really nice playing. I feel like it really fit the song. And overall, I'm liking this so far. It's really more the lyrics, I think, that I don't like. And if you're going to make a 7.5 minute song, I mean, it's got to it's got to carry you somewhere. Now, this has for me kind of a prelude happiness feel to it, but just with more energy. Love the snare work and just the basic rhythm section that we've got here. Not doing too much, keeping it interesting, but really just carrying along a bed to have John Lord play over. And I love what John's playing here. There's a couple of slight things that I thought were maybe flubs, and normally I would think you would just redo the track, but again, considering they had one day, it might have even just been like, you know what, just it's good. That's good. We're good for the album and move on. He does get a little bit off time in the faster part, but I think that's okay. It just I don't mind things being imperfect. I like them being a little bit human. I've said this before. I feel like we spend too much time just trying to make everything perfect in this world. And to use an analogy that, when friends of mine are talking about planning a wedding, I say, you know what, it seems to me that so many people miss out on their wedding day because they're just trying to make it perfect instead of just setting up a good day and enjoying it. And I feel like that's what we're doing now. We're just trying to make everything perfect, and we're missing the humanity in music by sliding everything into place and quantizing it to 100% and all of that sort of thing. And I love that there's some humanity in some of the parts here. I mean, all of them are played by people, obviously, but I mean that they're not perfect or not clean up. They weren't, all right, you're a little off, do it again, you can do better, or let's record it in sections if it's troublesome or whatever. Like, it's just a human performance. I feel it. I feel that slight shift between the parts John's playing and the rhythm, because it's not 100% tight. And I love that. I absolutely think that that's something that we're missing in music today. What an amazing build in this song, and the trade-off of John and Richie taking solos, the solid foundation of the rhythm section. I mean, this is 2.5 minutes in and we're just getting to vocals. Well, 2 minutes and 21 seconds, to be fair. Great build. And I feel it over promises the song. And I think that's another one of the issues that I have with it. Again, it's based off the lyrics, and the lyrics were not Deep Purple's, but it's just that the lyrics are so basic. They only paint the result of the picture. Like, I want to know what led up to him getting cheated on and getting to the point where he would get a gun and want to kill her for it. And there's so much more I want to know. And maybe that's the author in me. That's very possible. I have to consider that. But I feel like this is an amazing build up to, like, if you were watching like a Western build up to a duel, or like a great Mexican standoff, or, something like that, where there's going to be some kind of epic thing or something you anticipate being epic. Even like a duel where they would stand back to back and walk 10 paces, turn and shoot, like that kind of thing. I feel this would be more music than that warranted. And I feel like that's what we get. I feel like we just get the duel and the reason why there's a duel, but not what led to the reason why there was a duel. And I think that's what I'm looking for. That's what I want out of this, because there's 7.5 minutes to tell a story. And I'll have to look and see what Jimmy's version was at. But I know it was a little bit dramatic like this too. But I'm just like, there's so much time to tell a story and they really don't. But musically, I'm loving this buildup. It's absolutely fantastic. The anticipation and intensity is great.
Tell me where you're going with that gun in your hand. I'm going down to shoot my lady, 'cause I caught her messing around with another man. Yes, I'm going down to shoot my lady, 'cause I caught her messing around with another man.
Now, musically, I love the intensity of it. I love what Nick Simper is playing on bass in this song. It's really keeping it interesting. I love the power of the organ and all that. But here's the thing. That was 1 minute and 45 seconds to basically convey, hey, Joe, where are you going? I'm going to go shoot my girlfriend because she cheated on me. Hey, Joe, I heard you killed your girlfriend. Yep. You know, it's just the same thing that repeats over and over again. And another thing I always find interesting in the way that this is portrayed in, you know, stories and television and things like that is it's often that they only hold one person responsible for the cheating. You know, why isn't he going after the person she cheated with or, you know, trying to get that information? Why isn't the guy trying to stop him? Because he knows ahead of time where he's headed. You know, the first thing is, I heard, you know, where are you going with that gun? Well, I'm going to go kill my girl. Okay, don't try and stop him or anything. I don't know. It's just the storyline itself is just really weak to me. It's a really cool premise, but just misses on storyline. And again, not blaming Deep Purple for this because it's not their lyrics. But as great as Jimi Hendrix was, this is the one song that I've always just been like, really, I just missed opportunity. But, you know, maybe it is kind of reflective of today's world where people will post videos where they're, you know, filming somebody who's injured or in danger or about to hurt themselves or something. And instead of stepping in and intervening and trying to prevent disaster, they just film it so that they can post it. Maybe it's more like that. I don't know. Interesting, though. Well, it's a very long solo section for a song. I mean, it kind of fits the song because it is more dramatic, but I really like what Richie played, especially towards the end of that. I think the very end of it was a little weird, but I would have liked to have maybe a long, higher note ring out at the end. But there were some really cool parts in there that I enjoyed. But again, the production, putting the guitar so far into the left ear and putting so much reverb on it, I think helped lose some of the detail or drama of the solo. Would have been really cool to hear that on his Strat and maybe not so much reverb and centered a little bit more. But I've always enjoyed what he played. That was the one thing. Even when I would play the album, I would often play this song up until the solo. Like I would usually just stop listening to it here, or I would just go right to the solo and listen to the solo, and then put another album on because I wasn't, a huge fan of the song. I do think they did a great version of it for what the song is. I just don't really care for what the song is.
Hey, Joe, tell me where you're gonna run to. Hey, Joe, come on, tell me where you're gonna run to. Now, don't you worry about me. I'm going way down south, where I'm gonna be free. Oh, I'm going way down south. Maybe I'll try Mexico way. I'm gonna run. Oh, yeah.
I will say I do like Rod's performance, though. I feel like he's really living the story. I feel a little bit of desperation, a little bit of confusion, a little bit of panic in his voice, and I think that's exactly what the song needs. I think that's great. I think the performance from everybody in the song is really good, to be honest. I like the sound of it. I think they're all playing at peak. Nick's bass line is great. The organ sound is so cool on this album. There's kind of parts of me that I wish he would have peppered a little bit more of this in throughout the history of Deep Purple. Like once he changed to the Beast, which is what he called that distorted Hammond sound running it through the Fender amp. I feel like there wasn't really much more of this, which is a shame because it's really cool and it really does add. It is a heavy sounding organ though for not having that Fender on it. But yeah, it would have been nice to have a little bit more of that spread out maybe throughout the band's history. But we get what we get, and that's okay because what we get is very good as well. So anyway, let's hear a little bit more of Hey Joe. Yeah, I think about that little grunt from Rod at the end, and I think, boy, this is why I could never be a singer. I don't think I would be a good singer because not just because I don't have a great voice, but because I don't I wouldn't be able to just let loose and do something like that. If it's not on the page, I wouldn't probably work it in. Especially like grunts or sounds like that, I probably wouldn't. And I don't think I would be a very dynamic singer. And I can really appreciate when a vocalist can find a way to just express themselves beyond the words on the page. So I really like that he put that in there. It's a little kind of random because it's just one thing that kind of floats out after just a musical passage and then the song ends. If he would have said something like, help me, or oh yeah, or I'm free, or something like that, I probably would be more in tune with it. But just to be able to go in and let out a little bit more emotion and just kind of, whatever he was conveying it that way, I would interpret that as, I made it, or I think that'd probably be the way I would go with it. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to do that. And I think about see, there's so much of that. We'll get to some of that with Ian Gillan. Yeah, it's a really cool thing, and why I would be a terrible singer. I think had I developed my voice, I think I would have had an okay voice. I had range back in the day, but now I can't even talk for that long without getting a little bit of a head rush because I don't speak very often. And then I do these marathon podcasts, and by the end, I'm like ready to pass out. But yeah, other than range, and I never like the sound of my voice, but I can really appreciate a singer that can just let loose and be in the moment and make the sounds that they feel and make that part of the music. I think that's a very gutsy thing to do, and I appreciate it. Really thought that the end of the song was great. It was very dramatic. You can almost feel him crossing the border into Mexico, and just the worry that he's going to get caught right up until he crosses that line. I think that's what the music has always brought about for me. But what's interesting here is that we're at 6 minutes and 59 seconds. The song is over, but I looked at the clock and there's still another 35 seconds. And I'm like, wait a minute. I don't remember anything after that. And I'll have to go back and play the original album because I have the Tetragrammaton version of this album because I don't think it's on there. But for this CD version, I never listened to this song on the CD. There's more. So let's hear what they put after the song was over. Okay, so I have no idea what that's about. Why would there be a microphone in the booth where they would record the door slam to that reverb? It's weird. I'm not going to speculate on that. I will just say it's kind of interesting. There are a few seconds after the door slam that are just blank. I boosted the volume on them. There's nothing there. So I don't know what that was all about, but that's what we have to work with for this particular version. I really don't think that's on the Tetragrammaton version, but I'll go back and check. But anyway, that's Hey Joe. I think Deep Purple, for the song that it is, I think they did a good version of it. I think it's very dramatic and interesting. I think there's moments of excitement. I really like Richie soloing on it. Love the rhythm section. I think Rod did a great job putting some emotion into what seems to be a reasonably dry song otherwise. So I would say for the song, Deep Purple's version, thumbs up. The song itself, thumbs down, is kind of where I land on it. But it's all up to what you guys think, because music is very subjective and you may love it. This might be one of your favorite songs, might be one that you hate and never listen to. That's the beauty of art, you guys. But what's really interesting is I went back and looked at the Are You Experienced version of the song from Jimi Hendrix, and it's only 3 minutes and 26 seconds, which already seemed long to me. This is 4 minutes longer. To be fair, about 3.5 minutes longer, because that extra 30 seconds at the end of the song was not the song. The song was over by that point, so it's about 7 minutes-ish. So very interesting that the song was really much shorter by Jimi Hendrix. I haven't listened to that version in a while. Again, it's just one that I skip over. So very interesting. I'll have to go and check that out. As I wrap up the show, I do want to let you guys know that there is an email for the show. If you need to get a hold of me for any reason, it is smokeonthepodcast@gmail.com. I'm not publishing that to work as an experiment, as I had posted the email address on the Uriah Heep page that I have on my website for the podcast, and I get flooded with junk mail. I'm wanting to see if that might be the reason why, trying to narrow down what the cause of that is. And I thought, what a great opportunity, because I'm starting a new email address. And if I don't post it publicly, how will it come out? How will I get that information? Interestingly, my original Gmail address, which I still have and only use for certain things, has never once in 10 plus years received a single piece of junk mail. And it has never been it's never been posted anywhere publicly. Like, it's never been posted on my website or anything like that. So I find that pretty interesting. I thought, what a great opportunity to use this as an experiment. It's very rare I want or need another email address, but I thought, great opportunity. So there's that. But if you need to get a hold of me for any reason, smokeonthepodcast@gmail.com would be the way to do it. I am also now on Blue Sky under Scott K. Haskin. And if you go to my website, scotthaskin.com, at the bottom of the main page, I have all the different socials listed. If you're interested, you can follow me on any of those. I have them broken out to various things, one for the Uriah Heep podcast. There is a Facebook page for this podcast as well. And there's the link, I think I have it in the show notes. And if not, I'll get that added. And then also on my website, there's a link for it there. And then you can see where new episodes are posted. On the Blue Sky, it's under me, but I will be posting all the podcast episodes that come out, as well as everything about my music. And if I write another book, that sort of thing. It's just kind of like a one centralized location for everything that I do, which is, I realize, quite a variety, which is why I tried to break things out into, one for music, one for books, one for podcast. And then, when I started doing band podcasts, I wanted a specific page for each podcast so that, if you're not a fan of Uriah Heep, but you are a fan of Deep Purple or vice versa, you only had to get the information you wanted. But you know what? That's a lot of extra work. And I tend to think that people have somewhat similar tastes. I think people that like Deep Purple will probably like Uriah Heep and vice versa. So I'm just kind of consolidating all that. I'm keeping the Uriah Heep Instagram page because that just makes sense. It's already there. It's got a ton of followers. And should another album come out that I'll be covering, then, I can post it there. I can also post, forward tour dates or whatever. But other than that, yeah, I think I want to just try and consolidate and make things simple. If you're a fan of the things that I'm doing, there's a good chance that you'll like some other things that I'm doing. So there's that. And then before I wrap up, the Tetragrammaton version of this album shows 7 minutes and 38 seconds. And I'm like, what? So what do? I put the vinyl on, I play it, and sure enough, those sounds are there, guys. Had no idea. I've owned that album for decades in one form or another, and never once noticed that was there. So either I just plucked the needle right up after that was done, or wasn't paying attention, because it's not loud. But it's not that quiet either. Like, you would have heard at least a little bit of the chatter, maybe the door closed. And of course, after the chatter, there's it's really quiet. The footsteps are fairly quiet. So maybe I wouldn't have noticed that, but I certainly should have at least heard the chatter. So there you go. Mystery created and mystery solved all in one episode. I could have been a detective. It's probably all that Scooby-Doo watching that I did. Except that I have no idea whose voices those are or what they're saying. But in any case, there it is. Very interesting. Even I can learn something new. And when I started this podcast, I'm like, I know this music so well. This should be a pretty interesting podcast, because I've never really listened critically unless I was specifically trying to figure something out, like a drum part or something like that. But even here we are. We're on the first album, not even all the way through season 1, and I've already found something I've never once heard that was pretty prominent. So there you have it. This is going to be an interesting podcast, even more interesting than I thought it was going to be. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. Thanks for joining me for this episode. We will see you guys in the next one. Cheers. Thanks for listening to Deep Purple Smoke on the Podcast, a tour of the entire Deep Purple studio recordings. Please remember to give the show a rating on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening. Leave a comment and tell your friends. I also have a Patreon set up if you'd like to support the show. You can also write to me at smokeonthepodcast@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and thanks for listening.